Hey guys, and welcome to Tantrum House. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Will, and today we've put together our first ever Tantrum Top 10.
We've got a lot of these planned out for this season, but we kind of wanted to start out slow, so you'll have to wait to see our top 10 list of best board games ever.
Until then, we're going to start off with Ryan's top 10 favorite board game mechanics, regardless of how good the actual game is. Number 10.
So right off the bat, I want to set a precedent for these top 10 where I just cheat. And so this entry is actually going to be 3 mechanics, but I kind of feel like they're all sort of similar, and I'll tell you why. The deck building mechanic that you find in games like Dominion and Thunderstone, the drafting mechanic that you find in games like Seven Wonder and Sushi Go, and then to a lesser extent, the mechanic in Libertalia where everybody's playing with the same hand of cards. I like these mechanics because they all set everybody off, starting them off on the same foot, and then they have to figure out from there what strategy they're going to employ, trying to outplay the other people and build the best engine they can for the game ahead.
Cheating, I like that.
It's big in games, so.
Number 9.
Number 9 is playing your cards as resources. And you find this in games like Race for the Galaxy. And I like that strategic element of having to decide, do I play this card for points, or do I play it so I can take some sort of other action, but lose the chance of making points out of it? It's just a really cool thing to have to do.
Have you seen that Origins game? I think it's on Kickstarter right now. In that game, you have a deck, and when you run out of cards, that's your life. So yeah, really cool balancing stuff. Number 8.
Number 8 for me is this mechanic where you can't look at your own cards. You'll find this in games like Hanabi, or there's a new game we played at Origins called Baker Street, I believe. Mm-hmm. And in a cooperative game, this is just genius because it forces the people who are playing this cooperative game to actually cooperate, and it prevents what we like to call quarterbacking. So it's just great to have in a cooperative game.
Number 7.
So, number 7 is the mechanic of giving clues in games. And this could be any sort of game from Codenames to Dixit and such.
Mysterium.
And yes, Mysterium is a great one. And these games are so great. This mechanic is awesome because you have to get into the mind of the player, but this time you're actually working with that other player. And then any mechanic in which when the game is over, the players are still talking about the game and what they should have guessed, what clue they should have given, or what they meant. Yeah, exactly. It gets those players enjoying the game even after it's over, and that is a great game mechanic.
Number 6.
So number 6, and this might be a little bit of personal preference.
You're not allowed that in your personal top 10 list.
Is the mechanic you find in games like Bonanza where you can't rearrange your cards once you get them. You get them in a certain order, and then you have to play them in that order. So this is great in Bonanza because it forces you to have to trade and interact with the other players. So you care about what other players have and what they can give you, and then it also forces you to sometimes cash in early on what you plan to be a long-term investment. It's a great mechanic.
Number 5.
Number 5 is the Crossroads cards from Dead of Winter. And this is a great mechanic because it keeps the next player interested in your turn, and also it can ruin that perfect turn you were going to try to take by inserting that little bit of randomness.
And that flavor text, oh, so good. What about like Shadowrun Crossfire? Would you consider that to be the same or different?
It's kind of the same. It's a little more known because you go into it knowing what's going to happen every turn instead of just having suddenly this happen because you went this location.
Number 4.
Number 4, I put in here as a service to you, Will.
Oh,
and that is every trader mechanic ever.
You're not a trader at all. Mafia,
The Resistance, Battlestar Galactica, Dead of Winter.
I forgot to bring, I'm a trader.
Yes. This trader mechanic that you find in games, it gets the players to talk about the game long after it's over.
And mad.
And if the players are talking about the game after it's over, it's a great mechanic.
I'm honored that you would add this to your list.
Thank you.
Number 3.
Number 3 is the shipbuilding in Galaxy Trucker. It's just a crazy, hectic shipbuilding puzzle. What's not to love?
Give us that number 2.
Number 2 is the legacy mechanic in Pandemic Legacy. This launches a good cooperative game into the realms of awesome because gameplay is constantly being shaken up as new things are being revealed. and mistakes have lasting consequences for the rest of the life of that board game. And it also prevents the player who wants to quarterback because the rules are constantly being shaken up on him. It's just a great mechanic.
And finally, number 1.
Number 1 for me is Sulkin's gear mechanic. It encourages you to invest in a longer term strategy. As your players move around the gears, it's a little hard to decide how long they're going to be on there. So you have to decide early on which gears are going to go on and how long they're going to stay there. It's just a big efficiency puzzle. So I think that wraps up my top 10. What'd I miss?
Okay, so the only thing I can think of right off is like dice as worker placement, like in Kingsburg and Caverna. Those would be on my list. But yeah, I think you covered it. Did you miss anything else? Let us know in the comments, and we'll follow up and tell you how cool you are for thinking of stuff we didn't think of. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to subscribe, and until next time, we'll see you then.